Okay, so Rousseau, The Confession. So I do have Rousseau's Emile, which is his thoughts on education for boys, and also in the same volume is Julie, which is his sections, his writings on education for girls, which I haven't read. But I thought I'd get this because it's by Rousseau, and I guess it's about his life. And this was written in, well, I don't know when it was. 1781. But this one is 77. This book was printed. Okay, I got this one recently. The Brothers Karamazov. I was looking for a copy of it in a used bookstore. Hadn't found it yet. And over the summer, over Christmas, I had a Chapters gift card, so I just went and bought it. It was $9. Should mention that I do have Crime and Punishment, but I don't have it on me. I have it lent out. And Dostoevsky, who's the author, Russian author, he's the only author that I've heard and considered that the translator matters. I suppose Tolstoy should be another example, but I haven't really cared too much about translating for Tolstoy, but I've heard Dostoevsky matters. And for my Crime and Punishment, it's got red on the top and black on the bottom, and I think the translator starts with an M. It's like Monet or something like that. And that was supposed to be a good one. I looked on Amazon and looked on Google for who's the best translator for Crime and Punishment. Now this one I didn't care about that. This one is translated by Andrew R. McAndrew. Why would you name your son Andrew if your last name is McAndrew? Isn't that kind of dumb? But anyways, I wouldn't do it. This one is 2003. The original publication is 1880. So I've got this now, The Brothers Karamazov, and I'll get to it, I don't know, eventually. Okay, this is a book from the library, if that was for free. Play and Development. This is about education, psychology. And the reason I picked it up is because it's got in here a chapter by Jean Piaget, who's a famous child psychologist, and he was a Swiss. And it's got Erikson, who is, he actually was one of Freud's graduate students. So he kind of is between psychoanalysis and psychology. He's not a Freudian. Oh, I suppose you'd call him a Freudian, but he's not full Freudian. He's partial Freudian, which is better. This is 72. So it was free, and it's got writings by those two, so why not? This one I just picked up last Monday, yes, in Vancouver. I was out west recently for a conference. I wanted to pick up a cheap copy of Cosmos, and I found one in a used bookstore. I was at a used bookstore while I was on vacation, yes. So Carl Sagan, Cosmos, supposed to be a really good book. I've only read the first couple pages when I was, what was I doing? Oh, I think I was sitting waiting for the next presentation or something at the conference. So, yes, I got a copy of that now. It was first printed in, let's see, 80. Yep, 80. Also picked up on the weekend, I've been looking for this, James Clavell's King Rat. I've been doing a bit of research on institutionalization. So I've done research in mental hospitals. There's a book called Asylums by, oh, come on. How could I forget? He's a famous sociologist. It's called Asylums. I can't think of the name now. I've also read some prisoner war camp stuff. So this one is also supposed to be about that. I believe it's fiction, but it's set in a Japanese prisoner war camp. And it's about how, when it gets down to the end, human beings can turn into really rash and, I don't know if I want to say insane, but survival becomes the ultimate reason for action. And that can screw a lot of people. So that doesn't mean that's ubiquitous, but it's not ubiquitous human concept necessarily. It doesn't mean that every single person in situations such as a prisoner of war camp is going to act like that. But This is something I've been looking for a while. I picked it up maybe a couple months ago. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. Everyone should read it. It's not very long, and it's funny and an interesting book. This is the book about, you ever heard of 42 as the answer to all life's problems? That's where it comes from, this book here. 1979. Understanding Human Nature by Alfred Adler. This is about psychiatry, I think. It was cheap, so I said, why not? This was printed in 27 and 54. Oh, it's been translated. Yeah. It's about individual psychology. So, okay, this one was free. It says here, Our Debt to Greece and Rome. Unfortunately, this is a series title. I didn't look closely enough. The book title is called Survivals of Roman Religion, so I don't know how interesting this will be for me. I don't really care that much about religion. I think it's kind of dying out, and it had a lot of history, though. 1963. Another history book, The English Reformation to 1558. I have another book. I think hopefully it's in a different time period. I know there's another book on this. This is by Parker. I think it was free. This one is printed in 66. I also picked this up in Vancouver. The Oedipus plays of Sophocles. This was recommended by Mr. Cropper's channel. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this in the other videos or it was this video and then it got deleted, so I'm doing it again. If you're interested in books, the kind of videos I've been doing, this kind of videos in the Intellectuals and Society series and my other My Library books, if you want a whole channel on that, go to Mr. Cropper with 2 P's. Just look him up. I would normally say to check my subscription list, but because of the new YouTube format, you can't, which sucks. YouTube format is terrible. It just erased all kinds of content I had on my channel. Now it's just featured video and some little section to write a comment, and then featured playlists. It's like, that is it. It's terrible. It's garbage. Not the book, but the YouTube. YouTube is now. The channel pages. Here's Tolstoy on civil disobedience and nonviolence. So this is his writings. I've actually read his views on education. There's a whole book on his views on education. Got that from the library, which I read. Some interesting stuff in there. I believe I have annotations for that. So, yeah, but here's the stuff on civil disobedience and nonviolence. This is 67. Okay, some a fiction, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So this will add to my, I think Emma was Jane Austen, right? So put those together. I don't know when I'll read them, but I have them. This is 56. The Ascent of Man by Bronowski. I think this is a psychologist. And he talks about scientific progress from prehistory to modern times. So, I've been meaning to get Human Accomplishment by Charles Murray, but I haven't found it yet. Haven't seen it. It's about $10 or so off of A Books, but yeah. By the way, I get books off of Amazon. The first place I looked though is A Books, A-B-E Books. It's pretty good. Notice that Amazon, well, for Canada, Amazon has a mandatory shipping of $6.50, but A Books, you put any shipping you like. The seller puts any shipping they like. So you can often get cheaper stuff off at Abe Books. There's also a website called UK Book Depository, something like that. It's another good site. The shipping, I think, is free, but the prices are not the greatest. But sometimes you can find cheap stuff. And they have little specials. Like right now there's a 10% off sale. So I've gotten stuff from them once in a while. I've got The Art of War from them. Actually, I got to grab that. I think that might be downstairs. I've got The Art of War, too. I don't know, I probably won't remember to get it, but I'll just send it now. I'll say it now. I have The Art of War. It's got The Art of War. The Art of War is only maybe 50 pages. But I got this particular book that I do have. It's got commentary on The Art of War, which is important. How to use The Art of War for for life. And you know what? I probably should do a series on that because there's a lot of really good stuff in there. Okay. Although there's probably a zillion YouTube series on the art of war. I try not to do stuff that's been done a million times. That's why you see a lot of my video game series are games that are obscure, like Patrician, Guild 2 Renaissance. I don't think anyone has a series on that, or maybe recently someone does. What other series do I have? So I don't even know. I haven't done Majesty 2. Majesty 2 is a great game. No one does that stuff, so that's why I do it. Okay, Ascent of Man, yes. Controlling Interest. Who Owns Canada? This is by Francis, published in 86, 87. So this has a whole bunch of dynasties, and I'll just talk about a couple here. So there's the Molsons, that's beer. Webster's, that won't be Webster's dictionary. The Eatons, Eaton's used to be a clothes store, but it's gone now. The Westons, they own Loblaws up in Canada here. And I don't know the rest of them. Except for Bentley's. I thought that was a formal wear or a bookstore, but I don't know. So, might be interesting. Flip through. This one's a free book from the library. Moral Reasoning, Ethical Theory, and Some Contemporary Moral Problems. This has some really good chapters in it. This was written by Grassian, with 2 S's, 81. It's got chapters on moral reasoning, utilitarian theory, hedonism, which is about pleasure, Kantian ethics, self-interest. I wonder if Ayn Rand is mentioned. Probably not. Academics don't like to discuss Ayn Rand. Homosexuality. What else? Abortion, euthanasia. There was one good one. There was something good in here. Death penalty. The morality of war. That'll be interesting. A lot of good sections, I thought. So, it'll be worth looking at. Here's fiction. Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. So, I'll read that one day. Maybe. Hopefully. Fiction, I certainly like nonfiction better because I think it's more worthwhile, more concrete, the information you get out of it. I think there are some literature that one needs to read. Like, for example, probably in the next video I'll talk about Anna Karenina. I got through a third of it and then had to put it down. But I try fiction. I suppose I am, should I say, optimistic about fiction? Classical fiction. I don't care about reading, what's that vampire, werewolf crap? No, it starts with a T. I don't know. I don't care. Oh, I've read Harry Potter, though. I don't own any books anymore. I sold them all for $50, the whole series for $50. But I did read Harry Potter. It's good. It's interesting. It doesn't grow. It doesn't increase your wisdom or knowledge. Okay, The Origins of Modern Science by Butterfield. I thought I need to have something like that on science, on the history of science. This is first printed in 49. This is the second edition, and this is 1980, this particular printing. So it's got Copernicus, and it's got Descartes, Bacon. I have some Francis Bacon books. Aristotle, Ptolemy. One more for this section of this video. Better work. I don't want to do this 3 times. The Age of Reconnassaince. This is about the New World. And this is a fantastic book. This was free. This is from the library. They were dumping it. And I grabbed it before it went to, I don't know where. Maybe the recycling plant. Part 1, The Conditions for Discovery. Talks about shipbuilding, financial backing. That's very... if you've ever played Colonization, the computer game, talks about indentured servants. What does that mean? They're less productive than free colonists, but what's an indentured servant? It meant that they couldn't pay their way to Europe. So they were not... it'd be hard to say they were enslaved, but they were... they had a lien on them. and so they were indentured. They were in debt to someone. So it talks about the sailors, talks about navigation, charts and maps. And then it says the story of discovery. It talks about Africa, the Indian Ocean, the American conquest, Atlantic trade and piracy, new routes to the east. And then the fruits of discovery, the land empire of Spain, the sea empires of Portugal and Holland. Remember, that was an alliance. Sometimes they're called the Dutch alliance. Like in colonization, for example, you fly under Portugal, but really it was a whole group. It was Germany, and it was Holland, and it was a whole group in Portugal. A group of them. That's why some other games call it the Alliance, because it was a group. It wasn't just like... It was England, France for the New World, Spain, and then the Dutch Alliance, it's sometimes called. Because Portugal and Holland were not powerful enough to to be a competing power like individually as much as the other big three. So that's why they had an alliance. Yes. So that's a good. That was a good find. Okay. Next, I think there'll be 3 more videos. 3 more. 3 more. Well, 6 more piles. But I do 2 bucks.